and of course delighted to have you join me here in this beautiful class. Now, in our previous module, we did looked at the topic greed and its effect. Now, in this module, I will be discussing the topic the supremacy of God. I will be focusing on the topic the supremacy of God. Now, under this wonderful and beautiful topic here, I will be focusing and deliberating on the religious tension that was in Israel. All right, emphasis or area of focus is on First Kings chapter 16 from verse 29 to 34. Then, of course, chapter 17 from verse 1 to 7. Then, of course, you do have 18 from 1 down to 19, and, of course, 19, 1 to 18, respectively. And like I said, we are looking at the supremacy of God, but our focus and our emphasis is on the religious tension, which was, of course, was in Israel as had this time. All right. Now, it's important that you know that when the Lord brought the Israelite out of Egypt, okay, He established a new covenant with them, okay, in form of the 10 commandments. All right. Now, the first of those commandments, of course, forbids the Israelites from worshiping any other gods beside the Almighty God. Okay. It says that brought them out of Egypt. All right. Through Moses, God gave them ordinances, of course, and statutes, as of course the 10 Commandments, which they must follow at all times to serve the Lord. Okay. It was therefore an abomination for any king to introduce the worship of idol in Israel. All right. Now, like I said, in line with the commandment that God gave to the children of Israel through his servant Moses, all right, it is abominable and forbidden, all right, for any king to introduce the worship of idol in Israel. Now, during the time of King Ahab, all right, now King Ahab was one of the kings of Israel, of course. So during his time, he actually got married to a foreigner, okay, who happens to be from Sidon. Okay, her name is called Jezebel. All right. Now, Jezebel here was the daughter of Eber. All right, and Eber was, of course, the king of the Sidonians. Okay, and that, of course, made Jezebel a Sidonian princess. All right, so you take note of that. Now, Jezebel therefore introduced the worship of a Sidonian god called Ba. Okay, it was a duty, she introduced it. Okay, she with her husband Ahab erected an altar for Ba. Okay, Ahab also equally made Asherah. All right, that was another god as well, Asherah. Now, this led to the religious tension in Israel. All right, Jezebel persecuted the prophets of God by putting them to death. All right, why the ones that were alive went into hiding, and of course, apparently, Ahab was considered as one of the worst kings of Israel. He did not only sin, but he also made Israel to sin. Okay, God was annoyed with this, and he therefore sent Elijah to Ahab to proclaim a 3.5 year drought. Okay, now that is Elijah being sent there to the king Ahab, okay, to proclaim. Now, as a result of the anger of the Lord, 3.5 year drought in Israel. Okay, as a punishment for abandoning their God, which is the true God, okay, for the worship of an idol called Ba, as introduced by the Sidonian princess called Jezebel. All right, having proclaimed this, Elijah was haunted by Ahab and, of course, Jezebel throughout Israel and even the nations beyond. Okay, now you could find that, of course, is in 1 Kings 18 verse 10. God was with Elijah. Okay, he provided him with security and fed him with at different places, of course, and in different ways. All right. Now, at first, Elijah was in the brook Charet. Now, the brook is named Brook Charet. Okay, he drank from the brook why the raven, you could see the why the raven bird fed him. Now the raven bird, of course, by nature happens to be one of the most selfish bird ever. But this time, God defiling the course of nature, using a selfish bird to feed his own prophet Elijah. All right, you can see the raven there, okay, as ordered by God to feed him. All right, now they brought bread and meat in the morning and in the evening, all right, for him to actually eat. And when the brook dried up, God sent Elijah to a woman which is referred to as the widow of Zarephath, okay, the Zarephath widow, who fed him, okay, in Israel. Now that is the Zarephath widow there, and Elijah there approaching the tent of the Zarephath widow, who God used also to sustain his prophet Elijah. Now in Israel, Obadiah, okay, was at the head. Obadiah, you should know, is of course the head of Ahab household, and he was a man that feared the Lord greatly. Okay, following the persecution of the prophets of God, Obadiah took about 100, okay, prophets and hid them, okay, by fifties in a cave and fed them with bread and water. Now there was serious tension in Israel. Okay, Jezebel and her group waxed stronger to establish the worship of Baal in Israel, of course. And God, of course, on the other hand, established supremacy by upholding rain, okay, withholding rain rather, all right. King Ahab and God decided to withhold the rain, and did not see rain. And King Ahab and his household were hit seriously by this drought. Okay, hence the Bible records that Ahab and Obadiah went about searching for pasture for the animals, during the which they met Elijah. Okay, and used Obadiah to provide for the other 100 prophets. Now in all, okay, the desperate search which Jezebel and Ahab made to kill Elijah, they did not succeed. Now God protected him, and of course used him mightily, all right, to prove his supremacy, of course, all right, as an omnipotent and omniscient and of course omnipresent God in Israel. Now this is very, very important. Now we'll move to the other path, and that of course is Elijah at Mount Carmel. Now this is of course about the contest on Mount Carmel. Contest on Mount Carmel. Now you can find this in 1 Kings 18 from verse 17 down to 46. Now King Ahab and his wife Jezebel, all right, almost succeeded in confusing the Israelites, okay, turning them away, or turning their hearts away from God, okay, with the introduction of the worship of Baal in Israel. All right. Now the contest on Mount Carmel can be actually be said to have been inspired by God and championed by Elijah to establish the supremacy of God in Israel, and this gave the people a spiritual rebirth. Okay. Now this fact can be buttressed. This fact can be buttressed by the way and manner the contest was carried out. All right. Ahab, through the instruction of Elijah, gathered up the people of Israel on Mount Carmel. All right. Elijah came to them, of course, and said, "How long will you go limping between two different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him." All right. From this statement of Elijah, one can see clearly here that the contest was meant to establish the supremacy of God once, okay, and again, of course, in the mind of the people. Elijah further made a request that, of course, let two bulls be given to us, okay, and let them choose one bull for themselves and cut it in pieces and lay it on the wood, okay, but put no fire to it. And I will prepare the other bull and lay it on the wood and put no fire to it. And you call okay, on the name of your God, which is Ba, and I will call upon the name of the Lord, okay, and the God who answereth by fire, he said is God, okay. And this was, of course, the challenge that Elijah gave to the prophet of Baal. You could find that further in First Kings 18:23 down to, of course, 24. All right, and the prophets of Baal, numbering about 450 of them, okay, we are given the chance to pray and call on the name of Baal. You could see them there running around, okay. They prayed, okay, from morning till noon, but there was no answer. All right. Now they even cut themselves and blood gushed out. Yet there was no response from their gods. Okay. When they confirmed that they were tired, Elijah came and first of all repaired the altar of God, which he had been thrown down, which had been thrown down. Then he picked 12 stones according to the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. He made an altar with these stones in the name of the Lord. Okay. He then cut the bull and placed them on the wood and asked the people to pour 4 jars of water on both the wood and the offerings. Can you imagine that? They should pour water on both the bull. You could see the people there pouring water on it just to prove to them how powerful and how supreme, of course, our God is. All right. And this, he told the people to pour, okay, 4 jars of water on both the wood and the offerings. Now Elijah then prayed in the name of the Lord, and suddenly what happens? Fire came down and consumed everything. Now the people were convinced and they said, the Lord, he is God. All right. Now the people were convinced and they said, of course, the Lord, he is God. Now the Lord, he is God. They kept on repeating that. Elijah then ordered, okay, now the people to seize the prophet of Baal, as the 450 prophets of Baal. Okay, they were seized and of course they were killed. And what happened next? Elijah, of course, here further prayed and the rain came back. Remember, there was drought before now, and he prayed to God and the rain returned back and it rained heavily, and that of course marked the end of the drought, of course. All right, I want to believe that you've been able to grasp one or two things from this interesting and wonderful topic. Okay, you understand that God is above, right? God commands must be obeyed. Okay, failure to do so means, of course, punishment. I'll see you in the next class.